Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fan Interference with Wichita Wingnuts manager Pete Rose Jr. Fan Interference is a weekly program where you, the fans, get to ask your questions of the Wichita manager related to the Wingnuts, baseball or sports in general, or just seek Pete's wisdom about life events that are going on. In this week's episode, Pete discusses with us who he believes to be in his rotation this season. He explains why he hopes the Pittsburgh Steelers lose this next weekend. And Pete helps a frustrated wife. So let's get right to Fan Interference. Well, let's welcome back manager Pete Rose Jr. Pete, do you have any team updates you'd like to start with for us?
No, nothing new yet. Like I said, I'm going to head up to Wichita here probably. I start locking down on the season, but nothing so to speak since the last time we talked.
Well, let's just get right into our fan questions then. We first of all begin with Sandy from Wichita. She says, while I agree that Zach Cox deserved another chance, why would he be taken over Harrison Kane? Both are about the same age, but Kane's stats were so much better. Is it because because Cox has the affiliate experience?
I think some teams, and I don't get me wrong, I don't agree with this, but I think some teams might be, will go on track record, so to speak. Zach Cox is a first-round pick, played at Arkansas, has went to big league camp, has played AA, has played AAA, as a Harrison Kane. He came out of, college and went right into independent ball with no affiliated experience, so to speak. But I just think that, Cox's track record is, listen, once you get drafted in the net you some chances, right there. But, some teams prefer, maybe it's just position thing. I think all of them deserve a shot, but I think, when you're talking about those two guys, both of them had really good years, but I think that, the experience and being being a first round draft pick and playing in double and AAA, I think that, organizations are going to take chances on higher up guys as opposed to, not saying that Harry can't do that, because obviously I think he can. But as far as like getting into spring training or something, I think, the Tigers were looking for a third baseman and, he's available. And, hey, we did the same thing last year on taking a chance on Zach, and it paid off for us. So, I think Harry definitely deserves a chance. I think he's going to get a chance. It's just a matter of, finding the right organization, the right fit for him, where you can just go to spring training and do what he does and go from there.
One of the things I found that a lot of players have talked to me about is that place that you got drafted in, whatever that number is, seems to be a magic number to whether you're going to be given a shot or not. Is that kind of your understanding as well?
Well, Robert, the thing is if you get drafted in the first round, 99.9%, you're going to play in the big leagues, whether if you're worthy of the first round pick or you're not worthy about it, just because, when you get drafted in the first round and you don't make the big leagues, if the regime is still in place, that doesn't really look good as far as, your organization, as far as your pick, so to speak. But I think where you're drafted has a lot to do with it. But, hey, there's been a lot of non-drafted guys. There's one in my family, that would be my dad, who didn't get drafted, that really turned out to be, Hall of Fame baseball player. So a lot of guys, and for me, I was a 12th round pick, but I think it's just a number. I think once everybody gets there, I think it should be all, hey, now it's just a matter of getting finding the best baseball player out of what we have. But a lot of people will use that number where you're drafted and put a label right on you, and those are sometimes tough to shake. So it's just a different of opinions, and I'm on the side where it really doesn't matter where you're drafted, because once you sign, you get to spring training or whatever, you guys are all should all start at zero and go from there.
Jenny from El Dorado asks, I know you have only been with the Wingnuts a short time, but is there a reason why our season always seems to end in Laredo?
I tell you what, I think that what the league's trying to do, just because of the history with Laredo, the history with Wichita, as far as I think it kind of makes sense, that maybe the league thinks that we're going to play each other because they go by playoffs on, geographically. They don't go on record and stuff like that. So if both of us are in the playoffs, we're going to play each other in the first round. So I think maybe that's why they do it. But I would love to see us finish at home against Laredo once, when I'm there. But I think that's what they're trying to do, and I can understand that a little bit. But like last year, it was we're sitting down in Laredo, and then we had to drive to Sioux City for the first round. I mean, that's that's not an easy ride to do, but we took care of it. But I think the league just kind of figures that we're going to contend every year as well as Laredo is, and it kind of makes sense that we kind of end on playing against each other. But on the other hand, I think last year, let the two Texas teams end somewhere. Let us end with Kansas City, and we can go from there. But you know what? I don't make the schedule, obviously.
Craig from Wichita asks of you, do you have any idea how much of the team's rotation will be back next season? Are you expecting Brown and Boshears to be back at this point?
I think Timmy Brown's going to play in Italy. Listen, who wouldn't want Timmy Brown to come back? I mean, what a professional, what a big game pitcher, what a guy just goes out and gets it done. But he's one of those guys where we talked kind of the end of last year. He wants to get out and see the world a little bit, and I totally understand that. So that might be something maybe once their season's over, maybe get him for maybe the end of the season or whatever. Bose, if he doesn't get signed, I expect him to come back and pick up right where he left off. And as far as other rotation guys, Todd Kibbe, he's rehabbing, he's getting healthy. Garrett Gold's getting healthy. Jesse Pratt, I haven't talked to Cap. I don't know what Cap's thinking about. John Link had surgery. I don't know if he's going to play anymore. But the rotation, it should look okay, as far as if we're not going to do anything until spring training starts of what we have from last year. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But as far as those two guys, I know Bosch, if he doesn't get signed, and that's a big if, because he's another guy that I think he deserves a chance. But Timmy Brown, I think, is going to play in Italy this summer, and then who knows what happens after their season. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Is Charlie Leisman somebody you're expecting to come back? Because I know he was looking to rehabilitate.
Yes, he is. He lives here in Cincinnati, and he's been throwing, and it's been a while since he's been healthy going into the off season. And that's another guy I'd love to have back. I mean, what a great guy, not only on the field, but in the clubhouse as well, as being an older guy, a leader, a guy that's been there, he's done it. But he pitched really well the last game in Laredo, and then had a good I think a good hitter or two in the playoffs. So I definitely expect him to come back. If he doesn't throw for teams and he doesn't get a chance to get signed as well. I mean, that's another guy that could get signed. Right now, just from on what he's done and where he's been, as long as he's just got to prove to people that he's healthy. But definitely think Charlie's going to come back.
Juan from Wichita would like to know. He says, I know you still don't like the schedule in some places, but it seems that it was put together with a lot more logic in mind. Do you think so as well?
Is it better than last year? Yeah, kind of. Other Texas team in there kind of helped us out a little bit, but it's still a nasty schedule. I mean, if you kind of look at it, I mean, yeah, we don't go to Laredo for 3 times just to go there and come home. I think we talked about it last show that's kind of broken up, but you go to Winnipeg for 3 days and you come home, and then I think you play 4 or whatever, and then you go right back to St. Paul. It just doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand. If we're up there, you might as well just play us there. I mean, we're not going to Gary for 3 and 4 and then right back home. Like last year. So it's a little bit better than last year, maybe. But I think if they do the playoffs by, geography, I think they should do the schedule as well. Like, we talked about last show. I mean, we only go to Kansas City once, and I think they came to our place twice, and it was because they were breaking up the trip to go, to Laredo once and then, what have you. But I think, we should play them, numerous times. I mean, it's just a little 3.5 hour drive to Kansas City. I know they're not in the South, so to speak, but still, I think we should play them a lot more. I think that'd be a rivalry that you could probably, get going just because of the closeness to it. But it's a little better. I mean, hopefully it'll get better the next year, after this season. But we'll see what happens.
Jeff from Wichita has a question that I think would be really cool if it happened. He says the Wingnuts have a couple of days off because of the All-Star break during the NBC tournament. Any chance he would play a game for that team that Nate Robertson is putting together of former big leaguers?
Well, I mean, if I don't know if my titanium left knee would allow me to do that. I think it would, but I think I would break the joint down. But I think if I did play, I think I might probably maybe resign and just maybe try to pick up my playing career again, just because I miss it so much. But no, I'm just playing. That's you get those back-to-back off days, and I've already looked at it. That would be something to where I'm probably going to plan on flying home for those 2 days just so I can spend it with with the kids here in Cincy. So if I'm there, I might go watch. But I'm not a big watcher of baseball. If we talked about it here, I don't really go to many Reds games just because you've been down there, you've been on the field, and it's just kind of a different thing. But I mean, who knows what can happen? But I don't think I'll play just because of my left knee. I don't want to break the joint down, and I want to live past my 60s where I can get out and throw batting practice with my son or do something with my daughter. So I'll probably pass on that.
Our next question comes from Don from Topeka. He says, let me see if I get this straight. The Blasters trade Abreu to Winnipeg, and then he basically gets traded back to the same group who is now running things in Cleburne. Doesn't something smell fishy to you?
Yeah, it's one of those players to be named later to where, I guess. I don't know. I think it's done pretty much all over the place as far as, you send guys to different leagues for, the playoffs. And you know what? Hey, it gave, Abreu a chance to win. And I guess that, he was a player to be named later when they traded him back. But, I know Joplin was cutting payroll last year, and they just kind of got rid of everybody. And, it worked out. And then obviously, they kind of had that open-end trade. So, he went back to Claiborne, which I guess that's the Joplin team move there or what have you. Got to win a ring, and, they beat us, obviously. But, it's just kind of one of those things to where if you're out of it, and, I can understand it being a former player to where if you want, some of your older guys to go have a chance to win, you do it and you trade for them back if you think highly of them enough, which obviously, they do. So, it's good for him to get a chance to win, and now he's headed to a new place in a new city, so with the same guys. So I mean, it's fishy, but it just kind of happens. It's kind of part of it.
Heading to a few NFL questions for you. Chiefs fan begins with, I know you hate the Steelers. You have to be thinking the Chiefs will slaughter them.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's no two ways around it. I mean, I'm a Who Day through and through, but on next weekend I'll be definitely wearing my Chiefs red. And, we'll see if Coach Reed can't take him to the promised land.
Bill asks of you, he says, that Beckham guy seems like a child too often. Don't you think so, too?
I mean, he does some crazy stuff, but, I mean, that's, I guess that's kind of part of it. And, I think that when the game comes around, he's a heck of a player. I mean, he dropped some balls yesterday, but who doesn't drop some balls every once in a while? And they're making a big deal out of, his posts on his off day and, all this other stuff. But, what a talent, man. I mean, what a guy with some really good hands and, one of the best receivers. Some childish stuff sometimes, but I guess we all do that every once in a while. But I think his is more intensified just maybe because of who he is and maybe his past record. But, what a heck of a receiver, man. I mean, he had a bad game yesterday, as well as the whole Giants did, but I'm sure he'll be back even better next year. And, let's just, I like him for what he does on the field. He's a football player.
Andy would like to know who you see playing in the Super Bowl.
That's a tough question. Man, I'll tell you what, you can't go against Tom Brady. I just don't think that, I understand O'Brien's going back to New England this weekend. But I just think the Patriots, it's just something about them with Tom Brady. I think they're going to be in it. And, I'll tell you what, I'm not a Cowboys fan at all, but, what they're doing, and I'll tell you what, their offensive line, it takes you back to the triplets when they had Aikman and Smith. They just got a really good offensive line. So I think they're going to be tough to beat too. So, that sounds like 2 number 1 seeds. So, it never worked out that way, but I'll hopefully it'll work out this way this year, just because I'm going to pick the Cowboys and the Patriots.
There you go. Go to Vegas with Pete Rose's picks for you there.
Yeah, there you go.
Steve from Wichita would like to know, have you thought about running some baseball camps in the area this year? Because he would love to send his kids there if you do.
We actually did. We did a Chevrolet camp last year. I want to say it was after our 11 o'clock exhibition game where we played against Friends University. That was a really good camp. A lot of kids came out, and I think we did another one during the summer. I'm not too sure, but I don't know what that. Definitely do the Chevrolet camp, and that's usually right during spring training. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it's tough to do camps in Wichita during the day because you get on that turf where it's 130 and you get little guys out there. It might not be the safest thing to get them out there and run them around a little bit.
That makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Samantha from Wichita asked, with there being so much positive results out there, doesn't it make sense to allow medical marijuana for those who could really benefit from the therapeutic effects?
Yeah, I mean, sure. It's if it helps you, I mean, I'm all for helping people out that are in difficulties, and I think that that there's 100 ways to skin a cat. So I think if it works for some people, hey, why not? I think if it helps, if it helps a person struggling with some pain and can getting better, and obviously it works and it's proven to work. Sure, why not? I mean, I think if it's you're medically under a doctor's supervision, yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, I think if it helps, why not? I mean, I think it's all about an individual, and you want that individual to live his or her life, pain free as possible. Which I know it's not possible, but especially the people that are suffering, you don't want them to suffer as much. So yeah, absolutely. I think why not?
Our last question this week comes from wife needing some support. She says, Pete, it is the first week of January, and my husband still thinks that it is cool to have the lights up. Please say Christmas is over and he should take them down. Maybe he will listen to you. Definitely, Christmas is over. I mean, we just got one of those ion lights for the house, and those things are the coolest things ever. And if it was up to me, I think I would leave that up the whole year. But hey, listen, once the first, if it's not done on the 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, you definitely got to get it down the first, get all the lights packed up, and get ready for spring training. So definitely Christmas is over. So let's get that moving around there. Those lights need to be down and put in the basement. Well, thanks for answering our questions this week, Pete.
You got it, Robert. I'll talk to you next week, buddy.
We want to thank Pete Rose Jr. for joining us on Fan Interference this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Wingnuts manager, please send them to us at askpete@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askpete@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give Pete a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on Fan Interference.